Okay, so can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Go, you made it. Okay. So anyway, I guess it's my turn to start. So undocumented immigrants in the U.S. with no criminal record should be given a path to citizenship. And I agree with this for a couple of different reasons. I think one is for this whole fact that the low skilled labor stimulates our economy. So if you want to refer to a study that was done in 2006, it was a Texas poll done by what's his name here at the Cato Institute that proved that of the 1.4 million illegals they added in Texas, this was back in 2006, they added $18 billion to the state's economy and only received $1.2 billion in benefits. So basically what that means is that when it comes to farming and things like that, a lot of these low skilled jobs that Americans don't want to work end up being worked by these low wage workers, which in turn gives us low cost goods. So that's my first reason for supporting giving these nice, peaceful people paths to citizenship. Your turn.
All right. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So this is what I prepared for opening statement, and I'll address your skilled labor in a little bit. But undocumented immigrants and the possible path to citizenship has been a political hornet's nest, at least as far back as the first term of George W. Bush. Politicians have tried to dodge this topic. It is thought that an answer one way or the other is bound to alienate a politician from a significant amount of votes. If the politician says give them a path to citizenship, then the conservative constituents will be upset. And if he says do not give them a path to citizenship, then they risk losing the Latino vote. In the last election, this tactic was cast aside, and Trump used the rhetoric of getting rid of anchor babies and building a wall to keep illegals out to not only appeal to his base, but also to appeal to some liberals who felt illegal immigration was getting out of control. I intend to show that any plan to provide undocumented immigrants a path to citizenship is to ignore the laws we have in place. I also would like my opponent to show why the current system of immigration is not suitable for those who insist on illegally entering into the country. When this topic is discussed objectively, using only facts, not feelings, it's obvious that to grant them the special privilege of a path to citizenship is to undermine our established laws and the safety and well-being of our citizens. And that is my opening statement. So I'll pass it back to you now.
So I would say, first off, as far as established laws go, like laws are basically pieces of legislature that were written by people no different than you and me. So when I have an opinion or a position on a subject, I always base it off of what I believe is right, not necessarily what the existing law is. That said, the current existing law, if you go to uscis.gov, which is the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services website, you can actually see what the current path to U.S. citizenship is and eligibility requirements, things like for green card holders. There's a lot of loopholes, right? So all of the arguments that go against immigration, there's a lot of loopholes for things like being married to somebody in the military, for example. You know what I mean? So all your arguments that people are coming over here illegally, and people like Donald Trump that are saying that they're I forget the word you use to describe it, but like dead weight on the system, it's just not true. And there's several studies that have been done by states that have large illegal immigrant populations to say that it actually boosts the economy. Tennessee, for example, had a study that said that thanks to the immigration, the undocumented immigrants in their study, they had a $37 million surplus. That surplus ends up stimulating the economy, making it better for Americans overall. So I would argue that politicians running on a platform, if you're going to oppose immigration, especially when these immigrants are actually there and stimulating the economy and in your own best interest, it's good to know
I see you, but I don't hear you yet though. Oh, wait, can you hear me? Is it my turn? Okay. All right. So yeah, Yes just wrote me and said we probably need to do a redo because I just missed basically the last basically your whole rebuttal after my opening. I missed completely. Unless you think you could try to, I think you have 9 minutes left. Is 9 minutes good enough? Because I didn't hear anything you just said. But I'll pass the mic back to you and see what you say.
Yeah, I have no idea what just happened. That was really frustrating. I was like talking and then you disappeared, and I tried to pass the mic, and for 2 minutes the clock just ran down. So, anyway, I don't know if he can add any more time onto it, but I'll just wing it and go from here. I think pretty much what I was saying is that Tennessee did a study saying that because of the immigrants that they had that moved into them, they had a $37 million surplus. So when it comes to the benefits of these immigrants that are here, it's actually beneficial to every American to have this low skilled labor. So any politician that's running for office, if you're going to take a position on it, you should probably do what's, in the best interest of the American citizens, which is actually to keep these people here, keep them working. Because if you have your favorite restaurant that can't hire enough, busboys and dishwashers, then they end up having to close down, right? Because they can't find people that want to work those jobs, those low skilled, low wage jobs. Then it's going to impact everybody. It's going to impact the people that supply the restaurants. It's going to, impact you as a consumer of where you have to go. So these low wage workers actually boost the economy and stimulate the economy. So giving them a path to citizenship is in everybody's best interest.
Okay. All right. So you hit on 2 points. One was the laws, and I think you quoted the immigration website, and then you also talked about jobs. Well, to talk about the skilled labor that they bring to the table, and those monies, I hate using that word, but I'll say it, is kind of ignore the unemployment rate that we have. It's one thing if, say, every American had a job, and then there was these illegal immigrants, I'm sorry, undocumented immigrants that come over, and then you want to give them jobs also. But if you look at just the VA, the amount of unemployed soldiers that come back from war, you look at just the regular, like I'm really close to New Orleans, and everywhere I go in New Orleans, just like probably mostly any city, you see homeless people that can't find jobs. So the jobs should go to Americans first before we start talking about those. Now, in laws, let me check my time because I always go over. A minute 54 left. Let me try to run through this in a minute 52. All right, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which was adopted July 9th, 1868. The first sentence of the Section 1 is called the Citizenship Clause. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Naturalization, the definition of that is the process by which immigrants are granted United States citizenship. Congress has the power in relation to naturalization under the Naturalization Clause in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4 of the Constitution, which is called the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. Basically, I'll sum this up before I run out, which is in a minute. There is already a path, and there's already, and you touched on it kind of some to marry soldiers, at least marry soldiers and stuff like that. There's already a path to citizenship. You can't just allow for loopholes to be in our Constitution. It's a matter of, if you don't like the laws, you have to change the laws. To ignore the laws or kind of make loopholes in the laws is to undermine the laws that we have in our society. I mean, the Constitution outlaws it in the 14th Amendment. They give the powers of Congress. Congress has set the guidelines of how to get nationalization, and we can't just say for work benefits now that all of a sudden now we're going to just do that. Like, and this only works in immigration. Like, I can't break into your house, and I break into your house, and all of a sudden I say, hey, I'm here now. Hey, give me amnesty. Let me stay at your house. It doesn't like that. You can't rob a bank, then have the money. Then once you have the money, say all of a sudden, hey, I have the money now. I'm keeping it. Grant me amnesty and let me keep the money. Illegal is illegal, whether you call it undocumented or not. And 3, 2,
Okay, so I would argue that I'm pretty sure there's no illegal immigrants in your house, right? There's none that just forced their way into your home and was like, hey, I want to live here now. I should have the right to live in your home. These illegal immigrants, right, are obviously they have a place where they're welcome. So if I were to welcome somebody from another country into my home, is that not my right to do so as a tax-paying legal citizen? Do I not have the right to bring people into my home? Do I not have an equal say? I would argue that I do, and I would argue that American business owners that have businesses here that pay taxes, you know, uh, if they want to hire these low-skilled, low-wage workers, that I'm sure if we didn't have government, setting such high minimum wage laws, maybe we'd find Americans that are willing to work for under $15 an hour to work these jobs. Um, but because we don't, is it ethical to go around looking and arbitrarily arresting people, presuming they're illegal immigrants? I mean, how do you plan to? What's your enforcement mechanism for your position to have these people rounded up that are illegal immigrants? How do you plan on getting them out of here?
I knew you were going to use the word because I watched all your debates. I knew the word ethical was going to be used in there somewhere. That's one of your favorite words to use. But now, let me say this: the the no criminal the no criminal record thing, and they use that. Some people who are love the undocumented immigrants, they use that undocumented immigrants just to make it seem less illegal. But when you look on the NCIS website of the definition of undocumented immigrant, the term undocumented immigrant refers to foreign nationals residing in the U.S. without legal immigration status. It includes persons who entered the U.S. without inspection and proper permission from the U.S. government, and those who entered with a legal visa that is no longer valid. Undocumented immigrants are also known as unauthorized or illegal immigrants. The definition of unauthorized: not having official permission or approval. Definition of illegal: contrary to or forbidden by law, especially criminal law. So we can say they've committed no laws, but just being here, they've broken the law. And when you use the metaphor of being in your house, that's if I didn't want somebody in my house and they were in my house, I have a right to say that. And the laws of the country, which governs us, are cut and dry. That this is a law. It's written that way, and you can't you can't say, hey, you know what? These because I like these laws, I'm going to enforce these. While these other laws, I'm not going to enforce this one because I like this one. The proper, like I said, the proper way to do it is to change the legislation. Like say those people, those states who want to make marijuana legal, the way you do it is you change your legislation. So to grant amnesty is just crazy. Then on top of that, you're going to fast track them past everybody else that's outside of the country. They are going through the proper channels of getting a green card and getting visas and stuff like that. So first they break a law by coming into the country illegally. So they're already illegal, whether you call it undocumented or not. Like somebody that breaks into your house, you don't call it a undocumented occupant. No, the person broke in your house. The person broke into the country. It's still illegal. And so now you're going to say we should give them amnesty for breaking that crime. Then on top of that, make a whole sidetrack to them to get the green card and become legal past the people who are already outside of the country who are going through the proper 2 year vetting that it takes in order to be in order to be a legal immigrant.
Okay, so you keep mentioning the law, and I would argue that the law is always subject to change. As we've seen this with things like slavery, women's suffrage, the right to vote, marijuana legalization, the laws are always changing. So, what the current law is, right, it might be, hey, this is what they have to do in order to come here. What I'm proposing is that we change the laws to say, hey, let these people stay. Let's give them this path to citizenship, but ones with no criminal record that aren't a harm, that are actually an asset to our society. I'm saying that, hey, if we change our way of thinking, right, just like we did when we decided that slavery should be abolished, that women should have the right to vote, all of these things. It actually benefited us as a country. It didn't harm us. So I think moving forward, we can change the existing laws to welcome these people and start allowing them to stimulate our economy without fear of, deportation and all of these other things. The other thing is there are no immigrants in your house. That's I keep going back to this, right? Because they're not. If somebody were to come into your house, you have every right to defend your personal property, your land, however you see fit, right? But the imaginary borders thing that we're discussing here is just nonsense, and I think it's fear mongering propaganda that politicians use in order to get their way. And I think that as far as statistically speaking, the immigrants have benefited the American economy. That's just like crazy to be like, oh, you know what? We want all these farmers to get rid of like their thousands and thousands of employees now. Guess what? They're not going to have people that want to work those jobs and farm those fields because Americans, I hate to say it, we're a little spoiled and feel like we deserve more, right? So they're not going to have people. They're not going to be farming. They're going to produce less goods, and it's going to make America more dependent upon foreign like exporting or getting goods from other countries. So if we want to remain independent as a nation, we actually benefit from these immigrants and their low skilled labor. And and you keep mentioning the law, but I would say that it was illegal to smoke marijuana in Massachusetts a couple years ago. Now it's legal. The laws change because people propose alternative solutions. We change our way of thinking. We have more compassion. We have more logical, thinking. And I think that's what people need to do. And they need to look at the bigger picture here and start realizing that they're not all coming over here. They're not kicking down our door saying, hey, let me sleep on your couch. And, again, I think they should be given a path to citizenship.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so let's see. First of all, let me say that a nation is a nation because of its borders. So it's not imaginary borders. And also to say that these, like I said, I love the whole undocumented immigrant spin because it's always these people have committed no crime. And like I said, coming here is illegal, and they come here. So yes, they have committed a crime. They just have not been caught. Going back to marijuana, you know that they're not opening. Okay, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole right now, but I'll say, and you said laws are changing. Yes, but until then, it's illegal, and you can't just say, hey, the people that have committed this crime, let's make it better for them who've committed these crimes. Some kind of way, and this is my opinion, and I'll say this. I think for some reason, when people imagine the illegal immigrants, they always try to, in their mind, they kind of call it like, imagine like it's a refugee. Like these people are escaping some hardship somewhere, or being politically, or they just can't make it where they are, but they're not. So it's like, what justification do these people have for coming into the country illegally that they can't go through the proper channels? There's already a path to citizenship, and like 600, I think the U.S. is the largest taker of immigrants, and it's like 600,000 a year. Why is it that those people, the people, and it's only the people only want undocumented immigrants when it's like from Mexico, something like that? Why is it that, for what reason can they not go through the proper channels of immigration like everybody else? And I say this because, you say I have no immigrants in my house. When in actuality, just so you know, I do. My wife, because I'm in the military, my wife is a German citizen and she's here on a green card. And I had to go through the 2-year process. So I know the process, and it is hard. I will not lie to you. It is a rather hard thing, but we went through it. And so that's what I'm saying. When we're talking about undocumented immigrants, for what reason do they have that they're willing to break our laws to get into our country and not go through the proper channels? You can't enter into a country and say, I want to be a part of this country, but I'm willing to break all the rules to get there and break even the rules that exist in that country. I love quoting the Constitution because, man, that is what makes us our country and the borders. And to just cast that aside and say, hey, I'm gonna ignore all that, but I'm here now and I want to be a citizen. Make me a citizen. That is not right. We can't just start because of feelings, just ignore our own laws and rules.
Okay, so I mean, Unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that it was such a grueling process for you and your wife to get her green card. See, I advocate for making that process a little easier. I think that if you, as an American citizen, believe your wife is well-intentioned person, I trust you as a fellow American to make that decision for yourself. I would trust American business owners and farmers to decide for themselves who they decide to hire on their farms. I don't think I have any right to dictate who they can hire from where and at what wages they set. I would say that as far as the people, you keep saying that these people have committed a crime, but what constitutes a crime is decided by the majority, right? So like what once was a crime, we may not feel should be a crime moving forward. If we think the path to citizenship is too difficult in this day and age, which there's filing fees, there's costs associated with it. And these people that are willing to work for little to no money out in farm fields, you have to question, like, where did they come from to where that's a better life for them? Like, so you can't say that, just because your wife came over here the legal way and she met you and had this guy in the military, which definitely makes it actually a lot easier for her to get a green card and to come over here. My brother lives in Japan right now. He got stationed there. His wife is Japanese. So just getting her to come back here has been a hassle. So the path to citizenship for everybody, not just immigrant workers, but for everybody who wants to come here and do, the right thing and work. That's the American dream that, people have always said America is so great for, to be able to come here and to work and to make a life. I mean, America was founded on immigrants coming over here, the pilgrims, for crying out loud. Let's, embrace immigration and not, stigmatize people that came here for whatever reason. Maybe their green cards ran out because policy changes. They say the average American commits 3 felonies a day. So we're all not really law abiding citizens. And if you've ever, gone over the speed limit 5 miles an hour, if you ever omitted anything on your tax returns, guess what? You're just as guilty in the eyes of the law as anybody else, as the American immigrants, right? Basically, what makes them illegal is that they didn't pay a hefty fine to Uncle Sam. Even though they come here, work for low wages, and actually provide surpluses to the economy, as cited in the Cato Institute study that I put in the comments section. There's just so many reasons that I think, we should be giving these people a path to citizenship and reform our current policies.
Okay, so all right, so the thing is, undocumented immigrants, they're more than just 50-year-old Mexican mothers of 5 looking for a better place to raise their kid. If those who are illegally entered the country are granted a path to citizenship, then what is the purpose of having an immigration process at all? We would basically turn ourselves into a sanctuary country. We would be saying, hey, if you make it here into our country, we'll start a process and make you a citizen with no vetting prior. This goes for more than just the illegal immigrants from Mexico who's working in the fields and picking grapes. I mean, are you willing? Where does it end? I mean, suppose we have undocumented immigrants from countries like Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan and Syria that all come here and they say, hey, I'm undocumented. The purpose of the process in this law is so that they can be screened. Now, granted, the screening is not the best, but the purpose of it is to be screened and to be vetted. It's kind of, and I use this term loosely, it's kind of a little bit racist when you say, well, not you specifically, when people they're willing to let undocumented, I'm just gonna say illegal immigrants. They're gonna let illegal immigrants come in from Mexico, but if it was Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, it was like, oh no, don't let them in undocumented. Vet these people, but not these over here. Just for that, it's a good reason why the vetting of immigrants and refugees take place. It's important. It's for the safety and the well-being of our citizens that we have. There is basically no plausible reason why undocumented immigrants should go around the process that we already have. I mean, like I said, there's no reason why the undocumented immigrant that could come up with to justify why they feel it is necessary to illegally enter into the country and ignore the laws that we have and ignore the rules that we have. I mean, like I said, and I don't want to hit this again, but like I said, when you look at the and I'm trying not to go down the terror foxhole or nothing like that, because I do believe that a lot of people, they try to like incite fear and stuff like that. But no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying all undocumented immigrants are all committing crimes. What I'm saying is to make it seem like that none of them are committing crimes is really bad. There's a screening process, and that's the important thing about our immigration process that we have right now, and it is the law of the land.
Okay, so I never have advocated that we don't have any vetting process whatsoever. I'm just saying that the ones that are here that are working, we should give a path to citizenship. That's just, it's cost efficient for every American, right? We benefit so much from their labor. To take that for granted, and I don't discriminate from any country. Anybody that wants to come here, whether you're from Syria, Iran, whatever, I think you would get more uh, bees with honey than a stick, right? Isn't that what they say? So I don't think we should necessarily be, you know, deciding who can come here based on their nationality, race, religion, color, creed, whatever. I mean, that's definitely racist. And I think anybody that wants to come here and work should be given that path to. And anybody that's currently here that is benefiting the economy, I mean, it's not the immigrants that are screwing us over. It's usually our own government every time they raise taxes and file more regulations, making it harder for us to make ends meet, or you know what I mean? Like these immigrants aren't getting more in benefits and living off the system and draining the American system like they say. What's draining the system is politicians, is unjust.
Okay, so in my last 51 seconds, I'll say when you look at the costliness of, okay, when my wife wanted to go through the immigration process, we did it from outside the country. She was vetted and then she came in. Okay, if you're going to say that the people here should be given a path, then it's not going to be cheaper, because now for everybody that's found to like say a red flag comes up and they fail the vetting process. Now we have to house them until they are shipped back to wherever they came from. So yes, come on, yes, there is, because even the prisons, the people that have committed crimes, they get put in prison till they get sent back across the border. It's not just it has to do with the cost. But like I said, in 4 seconds, there's no reason to go